Welcome to the Lockbox! Lockbox!
Welcome to the Lockbox, Lockbox! Hello guys, welcome to the Lockbox episode 11. I'm joined by the Tesseract.
Hello.
And also by Anher.
Hello.
Hello guys, what are we speaking about today?
Mostly, I think we're talking about Game Update 31.
That's on the test server now, isn't it?
It is, and I believe it's been announced release date as the 11th of November.
What? But that's only next week.
I know, right?
So what are your impressions of it so far, Tess? Because you've been on the test server a lot, haven't you?
I was on in the first couple of days.
How did you find it?
Graphically, it's just amazing.
Yeah, when I went over there, it looks very shiny and new. I was only running around the watchtower, but it looks very lovely.
Yeah, it just looks great. And I mean, we've had a couple of videos put up for the different graphics and things, and people can check those out on the channel.
Of course, Earth is not as pixelated as it was before now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's as good as it was originally, but it's definitely much better than it was.
That should stop a lot of the moaners on the forums.
You'd think, but someone posted a topic saying, "Oh, this is a bad update for long-time players. It offers us nothing," and some people are never happy. Really, this is a graphical update that was sorely needed.
Well, I heard about this a while ago. I can't remember who told me, but I heard that Sony was planning on relaunching DCUO. And I mean, this is like a massive overhaul for the game. It is a relaunch in effect, and it is something for everyone. The graphics, everything's going to be new for everyone. No one's having to pay for it. It's something for nothing, and it's going to make the game look fantastic, brilliant for the future.
Yeah, Jens did an interview recently. I can't remember the name of the website, but he said they're treating the PlayStation 4 launch as if it was a relaunch for DC Universe. So, they're going to be there on launch day. New graphics. Hoping to bring us some new blood.
And of course, the storylines are getting revamped, aren't they? Or something about if you're starting the game from
leveling
scratch.
Process.
Yeah, the leveling process.
It's been streamlined, I think, is what they've been calling it, and we have worked our way up through the levels, and what it's doing is it's limiting your options basically. You don't get anything more than you previously did, but it leads you through the game maybe at the level that you're supposed to be at, rather than going off and doing other things and ending up, overgeared or undergeared.
Because that's something I've found in the past when leveling characters, is that the storyline seemed quite disjointed. You do sort of a little story arc, and then you move on to something entirely different. But there was no real constant narrative throughout the whole thing. Has that changed?
Well, there's still. I don't think there is still. I mean, it's still the same missions. It's still, I think, the same voiceovers that introduce you to it. But what it does now is, it used to be obviously all three of the mentors. They had their first quest, and you can't do the other quests at that level. So you've got the Scarecrow mission, and you've got the Gorilla Grodd mission, and you've got the Faust mission for the three different mentors. And then after that, you get another mission that's based in your police station. So for the Batman, it's the Bane mission. With the Superman mentor, it's the Hive mission, and with the Wonder Woman mentor, it's the Raven mission. And now those missions you're only getting the one that's for your mentor.
Okay.
And the others do become available, but they don't become available until level 15. So instead of, hitting level 7 or whatever and suddenly having 3 or 4 different quests, you're not sure which one to do, you're not sure, just where to go, you now only get the one option for what to do at that point. It keeps the journal fairly empty, and it leads you through things, and they do make you do a couple of things as well. I mean, because because of the way this works, you get the next quest to do when you finish the previous quest. So once you finish the Bane quest, you then get I think it's the Bestiomorph quests after that. But you can't access the later quests until you've completed the earlier quests, regardless of how high level you are. And this was an issue on test when there was a problem with one of the quests that you couldn't complete, the Aquaman missions. Because we couldn't complete that, didn't matter how high level we got to, we couldn't get onto the later quests. You have to go through the quests in order. So that, I mean, if there are, obviously they've worked out that particular issue, but that is a potential problem that there could be from this new system. But it does keep things relatively simple for people coming through, and because of that, they force you to do the Welcome to the Watchtower mission. They force you to walk around and introduce you to that, and they force you to do the base mission at the appropriate level 10 or whatever it is. And that's interesting because one of the other changes they've made is they give you marks of triumph whilst levelling up. And that allows you to unlock your base items as you go, so you can get a sidekick and you can get back up from level 10. And that, I think, is obviously to try and hook people into using their base from right down at early levels. Yeah,
I mean, the supply drops and orbitals and all that stuff becomes quite pivotal, I think, later on in the harder content. So I think the sooner that people get introduced and used to those aspects, the better, really.
And the other thing that you get as part of your mission rewards is you get some marketplace items. So the consumable types, the scanners, the R&D scanners, and the investigation scanners, and you get, I think you even get a repair bot, but you don't get that until kind of really high level. So all these different, you get a mail bot, you get a whole bunch of different ones. And again, I think this is to kind of showcase what's on offer and how easier things can be if you have some of these things. There's a couple of XP boosters as well.
I think I'd actually feel quite sorry for the people joining now with such a linear level progression, because the thing I always remember is starting the game and then just doing so many different aspects of missions and being thrown into different scenarios. So there was Gorilla Grodd attacking, and then you fly over somewhere else, and there was Aquaman and his army attacking, and I felt there was like so much going on. But I think people are going to miss that kind of sense now. They're just going to be so focused on doing individual missions that they're not going to realise that there is this big, huge world that's alive. If that makes sense.
Yeah, one of the things that I was pushing for, and I think they've gone with it, is again those first 3 missions that you get now that you used to be able to do, but now you have to wait until level 15. They should be shareable. In fact, I think almost all of the missions except the mentor quests are going to be shareable. So if you are doing something with a friend, you can share the mission for that and level up together, because that was one of my favourite memories, was leveling up with friends and helping them on their quests and actually getting something out of it yourself. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think for experienced players, it's going to be a bit restrictive, but it may be helpful to new players coming in.
Well, I think anybody that's played the game from very early on, it was with each consistent new update or DLC, you was already at a high level, you knew what was going on, but then in the new DLC you'd have something else introduced, like the home turf stuff. You'd have to like do it all from scratch, really. You'd be building up your marks of triumph, unlocking this, unlocking that, using the sidekicks and orbital strikes, and that was very much trial by fire of judging how to use them best and coming round to the idea of using them. But it looks like it's going to be introduced early on, and the importance of those type of things,
yeah, I think it's
going to be
that's definitely a plus for the new leveling system, introducing some of the things that didn't come out in the game until a couple of years in, introducing those to people whilst leveling and getting them used to it, because it was really kind of needed before. I mean, with the bases, all they had before was they had their base quest at level 10, and then you don't really care about bases until like much higher level. But yeah, and utility belts as well. You get utility belts from quest rewards, so that's introducing those earlier on as well.
Because all those type of things like the tactical mods and the sidekicks or the anything like that can be quite game changing for you if you're stuck on, especially some of the earlier content. If you're running through alerts and duos and things, they can make a massive difference to your power output or tanking or healing or controlling. Let's talk about the Pillars of Hades then, because that's one of the most dramatic graphical updates in the games, and there's been a lot of contention in the forums about, is this a good thing, is this a bad thing, do they look better now? I think it looks massively better.
I quite like how it looks like something's exploded and then kind of frozen in time. It's an interesting look, but there's no pillars anymore.
No,
Which is the only kind of the downside I can see.
Floating rubble rather than pillars.
It does look like something exploded outwards, like an eruption. I think it does look really nice though. But I guess there's no jumping about on those anymore.
Yeah. It looks nice,
at an
but
angle.
Yeah, when we first started playing and you come across these and you just spent half an hour to an hour just running up and down them, seeing what the hell is going on. I don't think anyone's going to be doing that anymore. It looks so obvious. There's nothing to it, nothing concealed. They might do something, like I said, they might do something, put something on them, but I doubt they will. They'll just stay like that. No point investigating.
Maybe this is leading into one of the later DLCs or one of the upcoming DLCs. We don't know yet. There may be a specific reason for them being like this now that we don't know about yet.
I haven't had a chance to run any of the content that used to be centered there, so there was a couple of races, or I think there was a race for each movement mode there, and the villain quest that obviously is concerned with that. I didn't get a chance to run those on test to just see what the differences are. But yeah, I never had any issues with it before, and I think that's probably the biggest point of contention on the forums, is that, well, was there really a problem with them? Why did we need to spend time and effort changing them when nobody really had any problems with it?
Well, Spittle was saying, and he was quite forthright when he said they were a hideous eyesore in his opinion. They're also frustrating to move on. Massive amount of geometry was there to support a single side quest and one section of a mission, so this is what Spittle said himself. I mean, do you agree with that?
I think moving on them, I had never had any issues like climbing them or anything, but doing some of the races, sometimes you'd find yourself running down instead of running up or that kind of thing, but that was just, it wasn't really a huge problem I found. And again, it was, I thought it was quite funny that there's this kind of big thing in the centre of Gotham that heroes, if you never play villain side, you've actually got absolutely no idea why that's there. But I don't see it as being any less of a big thing now. It still takes up a huge focal point in the park. It kind of glows more now, so in a way, it draws the attention more with the kind of the light that's given out. And I do like the lava effects and stuff they've got now. But yeah, I'd probably have picked an updated version of the Pillars of Hades instead of a explosion thing that we ended up with. I think if we'd seen the pillars with a graphics update rather than completely revamped into something else, I think I would probably have preferred the updated pillars.
I agree with him. They were an eyesore, frustrating to move on, etc., etc. But at the same time, again, it goes back to the past experiences when I was leveling. I just stumbled across them, and I was like, "What is this all about?" And I just spent ages trying to reach the top. And by the time I did, there was nothing there. But I was like, "Whoa, this is quite huge."
I agree with
Again,
Jens
that
in a way
scope's
though,
gonna be
because
gone.
they're there, they're massive, they are like quite prominent in Gotham, and like you just said, you spent ages going up to the top, and there was nothing actually there. Maybe there was too much emphasis placed on them for what they actually were. Was they were a part of racing missions, but did that justify something of that size apart from the spectacle of them being there? I mean, I suppose there's less emphasis placed on them now because the races have been taken away, but I think they look fantastic.
It's clearly
Anyway.
a divisive issue.
Yeah.
I think the thread on the forums went on to like 7 or 8 pages or something like that. So the other thing about the update 31 is obviously that it's in preparation for the launch of the PlayStation 4, which is it the 15th in America? It's not until the end of the month here. But I actually updated my game on the PS3 recently, and I logged back in, and I've got this. My PS3 is hooked up to a giant HD TV. It's a really nice TV, but the game looks terrible on it. It looks absolutely awful in comparison with how it looks on when I'm playing on the computer. And loading screens take like 5 minutes to go anywhere, and it's just problems with kind of conversing on the PS3 as well. I mean, I don't have a microphone for it, so I'm just left using the PlayStation typing with the control pad thing, which is never fun. And yeah, I just kind of menus lag, and it's bad. And I really hope that you know if it looks anywhere as good on the PS4 as it does on test server, I think that's going to be a really, really good thing for the PlayStation players. I think it's been a long time coming, and they really do deserve to get a better quality of game. And it's just been a shame that in the past it's been limited by the PlayStation 3.
So you're saying the emphasis now is going to be more on the PS4 and the PC rather than the PS3?
I think it's going to be a long time before they stop supporting it on the PS3, but yeah, they're clearly going to want to get players in from the PlayStation 4, and I think it's going to be a launch title for the PlayStation 4. I think they worked really hard to get that out in time for that, and I think they're going to be trying to drag in as many people as possible from that.
I guess they're anticipating that a lot of people that play PS3 now are gonna look to be moving over to PS4 rather than stick with PS3. I mean, I've got a PS3. I don't hardly play it though. I play on PC all the time. But if that was my main platform, the PS3, I would be looking to buy a PS4 now.
Yeah, I really think that the phase out from PlayStation 3 will be swift. Not looking at weeks or even months, but a really quick turnaround for that kind of thing. Because once you've got that kind of technology accessible, the PlayStation 3 is going to be so obsolete in what it can offer. People are always talking about the issues of lag and graphics aren't being drawn correctly, so they miss attacks and things. It's just not worth the headache. They'll phase out the PlayStation 3 and focus on PS4 and PC development pretty quick.
I mean, some of the launch titles that they've got for the PS4 and the upcoming titles they've got look really, really interesting. I mean, even from a PC standpoint, some of the PlayStation exclusives that are going to be coming up, they look really enticing.
Yeah.
Like you, I mean, I've got a PlayStation 3, but the past couple of years I've just barely touched it since I got a gaming PC. And I wasn't even intending to get a PlayStation 4, but one or two of the exclusive titles they said they were launching. I was like, well, I might have to get it for that. But I do look forward to being able to see what DC looks like on the PS4. I just hope it looks, it can match the PC, because that'll be a big thing for the game as a whole. I think if the PlayStation can come up to that kind of standards.
Okay, let's move on to the news about this companion app. So I don't really know that much about it, but maybe you can fill us in a little bit more.
I'm not don't know that much about it either. They've mentioned it in a good couple of interviews over the past month or so, that they were going to try and get an app that would tie in with, I think the idea was to tie in with the chat systems, so that you could be talking in league chat from this app instead of having to actually log in the game. Which for me, it was like, I always like when they do things like that tie in with a game. It allows you an extra way to contact people, that kind of thing, and gives you something to do when you're bored at work. So yeah, but there's not been a huge amount of news. They were trying to get it out for this week, I think, but there's been no sign of it yet.
So is this something else that could tie in with the use of the PS4 as well?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be for I'm not sure if it was going with the PS3 as well, but when they announced that they were bringing DC out for the PS4, they also said they were going to try and bring out this app. And at the time they announced it for the PS4 and said they'd try and work it in with the PC as well, but it seems to be that it's going to be a universal thing now. So, but we haven't had that many details on it yet, and just that they're trying to release it soon.
So I think we've said in the past before on the Lockbox with PS3 players, how the PS3 lends itself to being able to communicate with other players. There is voice chat on PS3, but it's probably not as easy or as widely used as voice chat is used on the PC.
I think the in-game voice chat is all that they've got, whereas on PC nobody uses the in-game voice chat. Everybody jumps onto TeamSpeak or Vent or Mumble or an actual dedicated program and server for voice chat. And I think the in-game support for voice chat is not the best.
No. So maybe this companion app is something that can be used alongside, that might make communication a lot easier, would you say? We don't know. But that's still to come anyway. It does sound interesting. Like you say, if you're not at your PC, or if you're not at your PS3, you've got your phone, and you've got this little app on it that's still allowing you to keep in touch with your league or other people in the game. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like.
Okay, let's move on to our last point about the Paradox Wave raid. It's still causing a lot of contention amongst players, but people are getting there now. People are getting results from it.
I've seen quite a few people getting in the speed feat under 15 minutes, some even getting in under 14 minutes.
Which is a feat in itself.
Yeah. Speed feat.
Still very few in select leagues, though. It's not as widely done as far as I'm aware. But it's on the way up. People are learning and progressing now, I think, after the initial shock.
To get the Paradox Wave speed feat, you're guaranteeing that you're going to get the Odyssey feat as well, because that's the only way you can do it, isn't it? To go straight in and take the 4 bosses down.
Eventually it might get to the point where you could take down one of the bosses and then go in and take down the other 3, but yeah, at the moment it's definitely everybody that's got it has got it by doing the Odyssey feat at the same time.
Who'd have thought, like a couple of months ago, that people would actually be achieving this already?
But yeah, it's been such a roller coaster with Paradox Wave. The number of times they were changing it at least, once a month, if not, a good couple of times a month. And I think it was blatantly obvious that it wasn't tested enough. And I mean, for our part on test server, we barely tested it at all. We were almost entirely focused on Nexus of Reality. But yeah, the number of problems that have been had with Paradox Wave, it's just, yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster. If they fix something, they break something. It's too easy, it's too hard. I think now it's at what it should always have been, and with the loot system as well. I mean, day one, people were saying the loot system was terrible, and it took them months to sort it. But now it's at the point where it should have been, and I love it. I think if it had been released now, if it had been released like it is now, it would have been absolutely fantastic. I think in a lot of ways, it's incredibly well designed in terms of having the 4 bosses that you can take down in the tunnels. And then as you get better, you can take them on in the main room. And as you get better, you take more of them until you're taking all of them out in the main room. And it just changes the raids. It keeps it fresh, even months down the line. I think the only downside to it is that originally when you first go into it and you have to take down the sub-bosses in the corridors are so boring and the same, and nauseous for some people. Visually the corridors are terribly designed, and I think even mechanically they're not very well designed, but everything else about that raid, when you can start fighting the Tyrant with sub-bosses up, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's one of the best designed encounters in this entire game.
Well, I think what we had from our point of view, that we had some leagues on USPC were actually getting the Odyssey feat first before the EU PC, but what people on the USPC might not have been aware of was this horrible server lag we had on the EU PC side, which was making things a little more difficult for us, but that's all fixed now. But that, not making excuses for us.
You're totally making excuses.
But that might have been one of the reasons why we were a little bit later in achieving some stuff, because it wasn't a game breaking amount of lag, but it was enough to really annoy you if you was trying to do something in a certain amount of time.
I know that we've had PS3 leagues complete the Epic Odyssey feat recently, but has the PS3 completed the speed feat yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Haven't seen anything posted on the official forums. I think One Piece are coming close to it. I think they said there were some issues with drawing the attacks and things. So when you're up against the clock, that can really be a hindrance. Whereas if you're just going for taking all 4 down, you've got time to play with.
But anyway, all round, it seems like there's a lot of leagues getting the Odyssey feat, getting the speed feats now, and it seems like you were just saying, Tess, that everything's been worked out now. It's actually, with the new loot table being sorted out, it's something that people are more likely to go in and try and do it with more sub bosses up now, whereas before they were like, oh, I can't be bothered because the loot's not going to be that great anyway. But now you've got these massive rewards waiting for you if you do go in there and do it this way. It's people are actually trying to achieve it now. Have we got anything else to speak about?
I was looking today for some topics on the official forums to bring up some interesting news, but unfortunately it's the same stuff over and over. Currently people talking about pug groups and CR requirements and how CR isn't representative of skill and all that stuff. It's all been covered before. Nothing new, nothing interesting.
No, that's okay.
The only other thing that I saw was, I'm just trying to find it now actually, somebody posted that they're going to do a Paradox live tutorial session. I presume that's interactive, so they'll have somebody fielding questions in some form.
I think the idea, I briefly looked at that as well, there would be 3 people that know what they're doing in a run, and they would take in 5 other people that need to know, and there would be the guy that was organising it, I can't remember his name.
Damage control.
Damage control. He would be hopping in and out of the various raids that would be going on and live streaming things and answering questions and things like that. So that sounds like an interesting project.
Yeah. Just looking over it now, I don't see much of the details. I'll put we'll put a link to the post in the description so people can go and read it. But yeah.
So that's it for Lockbox episode 11. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
And we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll put associated links into the chat below. I hope you join us for Lockbox episode 12 in a couple of weeks' time. So thanks to Tesseract and Anher for joining me.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll hopefully see you next time.
Bye.